Hey guys, Hawk here. So this is going to be the third and final build log for Oculus Dawn, and this is a long one, so buckle in. Okay, so I have this test piece. I am starting to use something called adhesive promoter, and it's basically a sticky layer in between the paint to kind of help the first layer stick to the plastic better. And it's usually used for stuff like car bumpers and stuff like that. But I'm just going to give it a try here, and considering I didn't sand this and 2K tends to pull things up, I think this came out pretty well. There's a little bit of distortion in this inner ring, but I don't think that's a big problem because once I sand the actual piece, it shouldn't be a problem. This is just a test piece. So adhesive promoter, excuse me, that's Duplicolor brand. And then I have Rust-Oleum primer, and then a Rust-Oleum gloss black, and then this is actually a Rust-Oleum silver. Then I have a 2K clear coat over this, and that was just because I haven't tested out the clear coat yet, spraying out of my gun. This is the first one spraying out of an actual gun instead of buying an individual can. And so that actually came out really, really good, much better than the can, much better than I was expecting. So the reason why I'm doing this silver test is because I was going to hydro dip. Unfortunately, the hydro dipping film has completely destroyed itself. I will put a picture right here. Basically, whoever made this film didn't think clearly, obviously, because the very nature of the holographic stuff doesn't stretch, and so that obviously doesn't make a very good stretching material. So completely unusable for hydro dipping. I'm kind of pissed off that I wasted my money, but there's nothing I can do about it right now. And this silver actually didn't come out terrible. I was expecting it to look much worse, and this is actually usable. So this is my backup plan. This is my fallback, but I am getting a holographic flake through eBay. The nano holographic flake, like the micron level stuff, is rather expensive. I was quoted $120 for 4 ounces, and I don't have that kind of money for this. So I'm going up a little bit. It's, I think, 0.008 inches, so it's relatively large compared to like the micron level stuff, but I'm just going to test that out on a black surface, and then I'll have both of the samples, this and the other one, and I have already brought this one up to gloss. I have primed, so not too terrible, very, very smooth all along there. And then I have the window already installed because that's how you're supposed to do it. Get that better focus there. Okay, so now the next step is to just kind of let this dry for full 2 days, and then test out the flake once I get that in, and then I will know what to do come next week, and I will get this painted up. I'm extremely disappointed in myself. I just spent another like 50 bucks on cups and stuff. This is like basically it's a clear coat, but you mix it in with some stuff, whatever. So this is what I'm going to use to mix in the flake with. So I'm just taking their recommendations because I don't know what I'm doing. So maybe there's cheaper stuff out there. Maybe there's better stuff out there. Maybe this isn't what I want to do. But right now, this is what they are telling me. So this is the paint itself, and then this is a reducer. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about that. This is starting to get expensive. Okay, so I have this test piece, and what I did was I brought it all the way up through whatever I was doing before. The adhesive promoter, the primer, then the gloss black, and then on this half I did silver, and on this half I left it the gloss black, and then I went ahead and did the metallic flake. This is like a iridescent rainbow kind of thing. It looks really good out of focus. You're supposed to spray it on a thin layer, let it dry a little bit, thin layer, let it dry, keep going. So I could have gotten a little bit more even, but I ended up just doing one thicker coat, which I'm aware that I'm not supposed to do, which is why it looks kind of splotchy here. But beyond that, even if I was to let this go properly, and even if I was gonna get an even coat like this on the ground, because obviously gravity isn't working against it, even if I was to do that, I have a bad feeling about it, and I don't think that this is going to be worth doing. Right now, I just don't have a good enough feeling about this, so I think I'm going to stick with the regular metallic silver. Maybe I can save this for another day, maybe I can save this for another project, but I've now currently spent over $100 in just testing paint, and I am ending up going with the cheapest thing and the most readily available thing. So that's kind of frustrating, that's really annoying, but I'm just going to do it the way I think I should properly do it, because I don't have enough experience with this kind of stuff, and I'm not comfortable enough to the point where I feel like, see, when you get out of focus, that looks really good. If I come back here, let it focus, and then come in here, that looks really cool. But it's okay. It's not perfect, and I want this blaster to be perfect, and so I'm willing to give up this metallic flake in order to just get the smooth silver and get it really nice. For the record, I like the silver backing more than just the plain black, even without the splotches there, because the splotches kind of take away from that, but even still I like the silver better behind it. By the time I release this video, the paint will already be done, so there's no point in saying you should do it this way or you should do it that way. I've already made up my mind. So just comparing it in the same light, this is the silver I'm going to be using. This is brought all the way up to the 2K, and it's not as fancy, it's not as flashy, but it's much smoother, and I just have a better feeling about this one. So I'm going to stick with this and follow my gut. So I will go ahead and start taping this up so I can keep all the black parts that I want, and then I'll be spraying it. So it stinks to high heaven right now, because normally I have that cover on to cover up the smell. I have put down the 2K clear coat. You can see that gloss right there, and that will stay that glossy even through its drying. Now obviously the 2K clear coat is kind of thick, and I kind of expected this, but I've lost pretty much all of the definition to the texture on the crossbow parts. It's okay, I totally expected it. There, you can kind of tell that it's textured, but I've lost a lot of the definition to the texture. That's perfectly okay, I expected that. So not a lot of taping on this blaster. There's probably about 3 hours of taping on this one, which sounds like a lot, but considering Ethereal Fortress took a solid 5 hours, this was not a whole lot of taping. So alright, so the paint just finished drying, and I took off all that, so you get a good window cover. And the definition in the details, in terms of like the texture right here, believe it or not, it came out a little bit. It's still there a little bit. You can tell that there's some sort of texture on there, so that's good. It wasn't all for nothing, but it has lost some of the definition there, but you can definitely see that there's a texture on there, so that's good. So as much as it seems like I'm 100% against hot glue, I'm actually not. I'm using it to secure this plate down, as well as putting in some guide strips so that I have some place to put this stably. Doesn't need to be a very high guide, but it's just enough to get those LEDs going. And I'm going to do it around the entire outside. You can see that I've cut down some of the film just so that it has a secure point to anchor to, so that way it's not peeling up the film. Actually, after leaving the film overnight, it's smoothed out quite a bit. This is the better of the two, but it still had a few, and right now, this is the only, never mind, that was a droplet of water. That one, right there. That's the only bubble I'm seeing in this entire thing. It's actually gotten better overnight, so maybe that's just a thing, but either way, it's looking good so far. If I flip this around, you can see that that is looking mighty fine. So here we are again, and I am currently setting down the plates for all of the polycarbonate. I have set up the polycarbonate and the laminate, and I have put the array of LEDs just to make sure that effect works fine. And as you can see from this video, that worked out just fine. So moving on to these plates, I have individually cut out everything, and I am currently in the process of gluing them. I've already fit them, and so they'll go in there like that. You get the idea. And I am literally laying them down with surgical instruments. These are dental equipment, actually, and these are surgical steel and everything. I have several tools, several picks and stuff that I got from a friend who works in the industry. And basically they have to retire these, and after a certain use, when they think they might break, they're nowhere near breaking, but for surgical equipment, obviously you can't have it be breaking in the patient's, well, in this case, mouth. So that's where I got these, and I am laying them in. I'm actually holding them down like that, and then hot gluing in. And I use hot glue for all of the electronics. I've said this several times before. I use hot glue for all the electronics as to avoid any complications if I need to remove any of the pieces for either fixing or reinstalling or whatever. It just makes it a lot easier. So the only thing I have soldered right now is these, and that was kind of a pain in the neck because I used the big old solder gun, but I have brought up my dad's soldering iron. This is actually the only good soldering iron in the house, and so I am going to attempt to connect 4 wires to each strand of LEDs that I need. I'm hoping that I can just get away with 1 strip here, and it'll be bright enough to diffuse in there. But to be perfectly honest, I don't know if that's going to diffuse properly on both sides. So we will see. I need 1 up there. I need some in the front. I need some for the motor. Obviously some in here. So it's going to be really tight. It's going to be really crowded. And then the battery goes in right here. So I'll keep you updated. So now everything starts to fall into place rather quickly. I'm going ahead and soldering all of these individual leads. And this one is going to go right here. So I'm touching all of those contacts individually and tinning them. And then I'm tinning the wire, excuse me. And then I am using my tweezers to go ahead and hold the leads down while I solder them together. And that's a little bit difficult. As you can see, these contacts aren't exactly the biggest. I'm not exactly the most experienced with fine detail work like this. Usually the finest I get is, you know, normal LED leads, but this is definitely an adventure. This is definitely a reason to get my own soldering station. Another excuse to replace this. I love this thing. It's very, very powerful. Good for large joints, but obviously not very good for the detail work. So I apologize, I can't close the door. My fan's on. Normally close the door when I turn the camera, but you're probably going to hear it in the background. But I'm currently holding this up, and I realized I glued on this back plate before I installed the switch. That's right there. And the lighting's bad, everything's terrible. But I'm waiting for my hot glue gun to heat up because I took a break and I'm coming back. And now I'm using surgical instruments to place my switch because I'm a stupid human that forgot to put in the switch. And I could remove this plate. That's the nice thing about hot glue, but there's such a large amount of things on top of it that I'd pretty much have to undo everything I have already done. And I'm not going to do that because I'm on a time crunch. So I'm just going to finagle this in there as best as I can. And that shouldn't be too much of a problem because I have the proper equipment to do so. Okay, so this is some of the wiring. I've gotten most of this stuff done. I have some things planned, like put that there. 2 LEDs, 1 on each side, kind of fits there perfectly. LED right here. This is going up to illuminate the trigger. This is in there, facing out here. And then I think these are the only 2 places where I need to fix the LEDs. And then I'm going to bring them all up to about here. The switch is these 2 right here. Control panel is going to go right here. I need to figure out how to route everything properly. Still trying to figure out some things, still trying to work out some things. It's very late, I'm very tired. I'm starting to make a few mistakes here and there. The switch just being one of the many mistakes. So before I haven't screwed anything up beyond my repair. but I'm starting to forget things. I'm starting to not do things properly, so I think I'm going to call it a night for now and finish up. I wanted to get the LEDs done tonight, but it doesn't look like I'm going to end up doing that, so I'm just going to finish up the LEDs tomorrow and hopefully get all the motor stuff situated out, and then hopefully I can start the Stinger tomorrow. Got a lot to do, a lot of work. So I've now spent a ridiculous amount of hours trying to put this thing together, and unfortunately I forgot to wire in the switch, which is still back there, before I connected to this piece, and I've already hot glued those ends together. Oops. So I'm gonna have to splice into here. Not a big deal, just more work. Those are the tiny mistakes I was kind of talking about. It's looking pretty good, and I'm going to fit on the other half of the shell just to make sure everything fits. But I might as well rewire, or put in the switch first and keep everything down. So I think that's the LEDs. So I'm done with all of the wiring except for the XT60 connector in the back, which I'll do after everything's closed up because I don't feel like spilling everything out. Well, this is really the only thing that spills out, but you get what I mean. So I'm getting ready to lube everything up and put in the guts, but oh, I also need to put these screws back in. I was going to do a full cable braiding, but I chose not to, not because of laziness or because of time, but actually because of physical space. There's no room with these 4 wired ribbon cables, so I didn't want to, it was particularly right here and right here. There's kind of a bottleneck happening there, and I'm already going to have trouble getting on, I think, as it is. Well, not trouble, but I mean, I had trouble making this work. So I didn't do the cable braiding the way I did up here. I'm not going to do the cable braiding out the front of the other side, but I did do the cable braiding on the cage itself, so if anyone ever removes this cage, the cable braiding is already done. And of course the Dean's connector. So one last look from head to toe. And that is going to be the blaster, and I will throw in parts really quick and then do one last video. Alright, one last look before I close it up, and I put the sticker on. As you can see, it is crooked, but I can't really adjust it once it sticks on there because it's a security sticker. If I start to peel it off, it will delaminate from itself, and so I wasn't about to do that. You can see in the corner there just a little bit, it started to delaminate when I tried to correct it, so I was like, nope, not gonna screw with that. So it gives a little character. But this is, as you can read from the label, number 11. And that is almost complete. Just want to put on that sticker before I close it up, but there's the overview. Just like that. So that's it for the build logs. The only thing left is the overview, and that should be out soon. I want to get it out before I leave for Endwar, but I don't know when that will be out. And also, I didn't do any build logs for the Stinger Raven, but that one will have an overview. So look forward to those videos. And of course, if you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments below. Thanks for watching.